All right. So, as many of you know, I have autism, um, and Tourette syndrome, um, panic attacks, ADHD. I had an attorney. I replied to a post on Attorney David Lane's page, where he was talking about how wonderful public pretenders are, and Ellen Chaney decided to make a reply to my post. So, um, my sensory overload issues. I want to let you know that right now, Black Flag is playing on the TV downstairs. The guy that I'm staying with, he has to have noise at all points in time in order to basically drown out his own internal thoughts, his own internal monologue. For me, I can't have that going on. I have to have peace and quiet in order to function. So if I pause from time to time here or lose my train of thought and start going off on another tangent, I do sincerely apologize. I'm really trying to focus. Um, I did take some screenshots. I'm going to read them to you. My phone is almost dead. Um, I was up again all night long, literally no sleep. Um, that's because also I can't sleep. Part of that is because of the incessant noise that is constantly going on here. When the guy who owns the place is not here, I can have peace and quiet and I can get stuff done. But without it, it's impossible. It's also difficult to get to sleep when he falls asleep to shows about killing and murder and rape and incest and all sorts of shit that most of y'all are infatuated with. Um, I did make a video where I sang a short song or part of a short song that I felt many people would find offensive. Um, if you guys hear me saying that a particular group should have harm come to them, it's not that I want harm to come to them, it's that I want them to understand. When those things happen to me, how I feel, those people are feeling when I focus on their group. Every time you guys focus on the homeless and say such hateful things, the way that that makes me feel, I'm saying that so that you understand. When people blame everything on men, every time that I do this, all right, it's in retaliation to comments. If I say all cops should have this happen or all of these people should have that happen, it's in response in specific to people doing the same thing and believing that it's okay. Well, how is it okay? Now, what I used to do is just blame Canada. Blame Canada. The reason for this, I might sneeze. Nope. All right. Ow. The reason for that is because if I blamed Canada, people realize how incredibly stupid it is. But now, it does occur to me that people don't understand that it is satire, that it is sarcasm, that it's giving people what they're giving me. Um, there's even some satire about my little brother when I said, "What? He's the hero." He wasn't the hero. He's a child molester. It's fucking gross. However, this is about Alan Chaney and some stuff that he sent me this morning. Well, that he replied to this morning, and I'm going to go to the screenshots of that for your all. Well, I guess we can call it amusement, although it wasn't meant to be amusing. Um, We'll start off with he posted this thing. It says Richard Burr wondering when profiting off mass suffering suddenly became a crime in, and it's just a screenshot, so I can't click on it and see what the rest of it says. But I typed, you should check facts before getting into bed with crooked public pretenders. All right, we'll go to the next picture. Nope, that one's about Pierce County. Perhaps it is this one. Yes, it is. Now, this is on his timeline, mind you. He typed, first, this article is satire. Second, the Colorado public defender system is full of hardworking, talented, and empathetic professionals. Third, I don't know you, and please find something more productive to do than troll my Facebook account. Good point, isn't it? Let's go to the next one. I typed, you defended crooked people on a comment I made elsewhere. I'm returning the favor. As long as you don't reply to this, I won't respond again. Next time you see a comment from me, you will know not to comment. Making excuses for crooked public pretenders is not your job, so next time, mind your business. Giving him just a little bit of the treatment that I get. I will hold it up there for a moment so that you guys can read it. All right. Next picture. Is this it? Nope, that's Tim Blomberg. Um, let's see. Perhaps it is this one right here. Alan Chaney typed, if you have a comment that you don't want anyone to respond to, why not keep it to yourself? That way you can be sure that no one will have the audacity to click reply. I typed ditto. Next time you defend crooks on a public Facebook post, remember that not all public pretenders are in it to help, especially when it comes to autistic homeless people. After I threatened to sue them, they never should have been allowed to continue working on my case. You should stick to what you know for certain so you don't ruin your reputation. Now, mind you, this is an attorney in the state of Colorado. Let's see, I believe is right here it. Let's see. Nope, that's not it. This one's it. Now, his friend Nick Mard typed Sean Schwartz. That doesn't sound like very social media. And Alan Chaney also replied. He typed Sean Schwartz, after you threatened to sue them. Now, mind you, this is an attorney in the state of Colorado. Somebody should have informed the judge about the part that I'm about to read. It says, after you threaten to sue them, they have a conflict. To ensure that you continue to receive the conflict-free counsel you deserve and are guaranteed by the Constitution. Did I not say that? Have I not been saying this? And are guaranteed by the Constitution, they are required to withdraw and have a new attorney appointed to your case. That's the system working the way it is supposed to. So obviously, the judge did not believe that it should work the way that it's supposed to. Meanwhile, I am disabled. I did have disability money coming in, and I did have housing before Natalie was killed. Here in Chapel, Nebraska, up at Hilltop, they have me written down as them being my landlords until January of 2018. What happened in January of 2018? That's right, I was assaulted by Officer Waylon Lolotai. And that's what all this is about, is a corrupt system trying to hide how fucked up they are and about how they're all in bed with one another. Now, on the occasion that I was trying to fire the public pretender's office in Larimer County, that judge in that case would not allow me to continue with the proceedings unless I signed a piece of paper waiving my right to sue those attorneys. They gave me two choices. Either A, I can sign that piece of paper, or B, I can make a plea deal. That's illegal as fuck. It's not just immoral, it's illegal. That judge committed a felony against a physically and mentally disabled person. I had no counsel that day. None. No public pretender, no actual attorney, and they wouldn't allow me to have an actual attorney unless I signed that piece of paper. Meanwhile, one of those attorneys that I spoke with, Catherine Hayes, I actually recorded that on my Facebook, the conversation between me and her. Well, the second half of the conversation between me and her. Because she would not answer my question as to who is going to be my attorney. Because Zoe Tanner wasn't going to be. Now, when it comes to Pamela Carty, that right there is a big major issue. Actually, let's see if he's blocked me, because if he hasn't blocked me, then I can actually scroll through it. But let's show this part first. Of course, I loved that comment because this is an attorney who is telling me, basically telling me that I'm right. Now, he didn't type that you're right, but he hasn't seen how many times that I have said this over the course of the last year and a half, 2 years. I typed, thank you for that. As an attorney, you would know the judge in Arapahoe County had a different opinion and refused to allow me to fire Pamela Carty, resulting in more harm being brought upon me. The judge in Larimer County had a different opinion too, and in both cases, my disabilities were exploited to the max. Pamela Carty was aware that I was being tortured by the police in that jail. Now, they kept on having technical issues with their monitoring system, their kiosk. At first, I was writing it on paper, which I have many of those papers here. And then, well, when I first got there, they actually had the kiosks up and running. And I didn't have anyone to show me how to use them. I was trying to, it wasn't working. One of the other inmates did finally help me. And I made a few reports on there that they did not reply to. The kiosks broke down, so I was using the papers. And I actually had to get other inmates to smuggle me these papers. Imagine that. They wouldn't allow me these papers. And after smuggling them to me, I'd fill them out and I'd slide them underneath the door. at the end of shift or after bedtime when you're supposed to do so. And whenever I had a letter that needed to be sent out, I would fold up the piece of paper. I would put the envelope inside of it so that I knew that it was all together. And that way, if they returned any of my documents to me, I knew that they had that letter. Now, what we're dealing with here is the fact that Pamela Cardi, in order to prevent herself from being sued for repeatedly not doing her job, for going out of her way to intentionally overlook the harm that was being brought against me in that jail, the literal torture, both psychological and physical. Pamela Cardi repeatedly did not show up for court dates, important court dates. She did not requisition evidence that should have been requisitioned. She did not call witnesses, nor make any attempt to do so. She literally did everything in her power to prevent me from showing evidence, which is what I committed those crimes to begin with in order to show. And yes, it is legal for me to commit those crimes under these extreme situations. It really is. Now, you guys, some of you might be surprised to know this, and some of you can probably quote which laws those are, including the numbers and the decimals and shit like that. Train. Woot woot. So I can hear the train going and I can hear the TV downstairs. I'm not sure if you guys can hear them both, but I certainly can. Um, I believe there's more to this. I don't know exactly where, but we will see. That's Tim Bloomberg stuff. More Tim Bloomberg. Um, this one's from Russell Huggins. He doesn't like Democrats, but he sent me a thing with Frank D'Azar. It says, "Have you been abused by a Democrat or by a Democratic?" I typed, "I was abused by law enforcement, hospital staff, drunks, junkies, public pretenders, judges, jail staff, the Bollinger family, their friends, the general public, and if I had what you do, I'd be more than just happy, regardless of the fact that political parties exist. If you lost everything, your God wouldn't even be a footnote in the posts you make." The post you would make, I apologize. Now, what are we looking at? Oh yes, Alan Chaney. So now we have established that, yes, the things that I had to say were illegal are illegal. They actually are. An attorney on his very own Facebook, on his very own account, who is an attorney in Colorado, said that that was a conflict of interest, which is what I had to say. But the judge wouldn't hear me, refused to hear me. Now, I would like to know the name of that judge, and the public pretender's office knowingly allowed Pamela Cardi to move elsewhere out of jurisdiction to escape prosecution for her crimes. Now, then there's a situation with Zoe Tanner, Pamela Cotton, and Catherine Hayes. That's Larimer County. Zoe Tanner is the attorney that Graham wrote about that did not show up on 3 separate occasions. All 3 of those occasions, it was a no call, no show. I didn't receive a call, and she didn't show up. Now, as far as my court dates went, both in Arapahoe County and Larimer County, these people would not look at evidence. Matter of fact, my replacement for the public pretender's office, when you listen to Steve Tombleson and the conversation that we had on the telephone, and that conversation is here on YouTube, that was my replacement lawyer who would not take a look at that evidence. More than once, because Steve did go in with me not once but twice. Now, Steve Tombleson also was not aware of the situation. He's just a long-term friend. He is someone who helped out the homeless community on more than one occasion. Now, the point here is that these people not only exploited my disabilities, but they repeatedly ignored not only myself, but other inmates. Everybody in that place can admit that what happened to me was fucked up. But they wouldn't take reports from any witnesses. They refused to investigate themselves. Told me that I could get an attorney when I got out. Now, you have a certain amount of time in order to make an appeal. So they did everything in their power to prevent me from being able to make that appeal. Preventing me from showing evidence, refusing to collect evidence, refusing to investigate crimes against a disabled individual. These are all against the law in the state of Colorado, the state of Nebraska, the state of Wyoming, all of these places. Now, it's magically okay to commit these crimes, apparently. Even though it's illegal, it's somehow okay as long as they don't look at the evidence, as long as they outright refuse to look at the evidence. The fact is, not only did I have to post this in the only way that I know how, I was prevented because of my disabilities. I have been prevented from learning how in other ways. That's why it's been stuck on Facebook and YouTube. I have attempted, and there are witnesses who I have had conversations with, and their conversations are also here on YouTube, who tried. They were trying to help me do it online. And it didn't work any better for them than it did for me. Now, with what Candace Bondurant had to say, with what Mandy Hughes had to say, and many others, yes, telling the truth here on my YouTube and on my Facebook and showing the truth to the public was the best way to keep these people and their families safe. Candace let me know that she was afraid for her and her family. So I kept them safe the only way that I knew how, with law enforcement unwilling to do anything. The same thing with Rochelle Shelley Campbell. The same thing with Alicia Bollinger. The fact is that all of the crimes that I committed were to keep myself safe, to keep people like Candace Bondurant safe, to keep people like Peaches, aka Kayla Trujillo, safe, to keep these children safe, to keep Rochelle Shelley Campbell safe, to keep Danica Garner safe, to keep Alicia Bollinger safe, to keep Bobby Forrest safe, to keep Jamie Lee Curtis safe and her son safe. Right now, I'm having problems concentrating because there's a battle scene going on downstairs. So I'm sorry if I lost my place. The fact is, I've been trying to do what it is that the attorneys have told me that I needed. But instead of actually keeping their word to do these things, people like Kayla Trujillo and Tabitha Michelle Cook and Graham and many others, including Katie Cahill and Mandy Hughes and Alyssa Rainwater, none of them actually kept their word. And because of that, Amanda Jonas's slander against me was allowed to stick in court. Although I wasn't allowed to speak, people like Kara Johnson Miles, who Shannon Alvarado exposed was playing head games, along with Rochelle Shelley Campbell. However, Shannon Alvarado never wrote that report. Mandy Hughes never went in with me like she said she would. Miss Peaches never went in with me like she said she would. If she had gone in with me, actually with me, unlike the slander from Raja, who typed in that they went in with me, 3 of their family members went in with me on the 29th of December of 2017. That was outright slander. Outright slander. That's not subject to interpretation. They did not go in with me. Had they gone in with me, those police officers would not have been able to lie the way that they did. They would not have been able to turn off their body cameras. They would not have been able to deny my rights and make it just their word versus mine. They would have followed the law a little bit more closely because there was a witness present. Not only did Miss Peaches and those family members not after situation where I have to suffer from sensory overload because I don't have the things that were taken from me over false accusations. False accusations. I want you to remember that. If those things had not been taken from me, and these predators like Ken Wilson and Leah Plunkett had not done the things that they did, many people had to do the wrong thing for this to happen. And the reason they were able to get away with that is because they preyed, number one, they preyed on public opinion. And that public opinion allowed them to victimize one of the most victimized people in America. And I'm not referring to just me. There are factors that allow people to be victimized according to public opinion. If you accuse somebody of rape or child molestation, especially of a pretty girl like Natalie, yeah, people don't give a fuck what you have to say. You're a fucking monster. But did Natalie ever say that? No, she never did. Natalie lied and said that I stalked her in Virginia. She also lied and claimed that I parked behind her work for weeks. She didn't work there. Her sister did. And it was her sister's idea for me to stay there. Matter of fact, she talked me into it by saying, hey, there's a Starbucks there too. You can go to the Starbucks there. My boyfriend works there. And those people at that Starbucks were wonderful to me. They treated me exquisitely. They treated me like a human being. They even helped me get the GPS set up on that new phone that I got from Natalie Bollinger or from Alicia Bollinger. That busted ass phone that would hardly work, but they helped me to set it up. We've also got people admitting that not taking a report from me is actually against the law. Admitting that me going to mandatory reporters was the right thing to do. and that all of those mandatory reporters who did not try to report it did, in fact, break the law. Now, here's something that is important to note. One of my therapists, the therapist that I had before Natalie was killed, and also afterwards, her name is Nicole Peralta. And although she hasn't returned my call, she didn't do the right thing before Natalie was killed. But after Natalie was killed, she did, in fact, go to the sheriff's department in Sidney, Nebraska, and attempt to report what was going on. In Sidney, Nebraska, they refused to do anything. And Nicole Peralta can testify to this. Can I testify to this? No, I can't. I wasn't there when she went in. She was, though. I'm really tired and my brain is pretty scattered. The battle scene is not going on right now. There's not a train going by, but I'm not sure if I covered everything that I planned on covering in this video. And all of these places where people were doing all of this fucked up shit, I didn't point it out to try to say that they're terrible people. I pointed it out to show that sensory overload was definitely an issue in every single one of these places, including here. That TV, he doesn't mean anything mean or terrible by it. Just like Shannon Alvarado being a complete and total bitch to her boyfriend every time that she got fucking drunk, one of two things would happen. Either A, she'd get drunk on wine by herself and treat Rick like shit, or number two, Rick would get drunk with her and they'd have sex. Now, the fact that she was like that while I was there to somebody else, and the fact that he defended himself, and that really got her going because nobody's opinion matters but Shannon's. It's her autocratic dictatorship. However, she also kicked him out over 200 times and he never left. She kicked him out of her house and he never left. For me, the very few times that I said something, now I did every night say something about her drinking. I need you to stay sober for a night so you can help me, so you can keep your word. I did say that every night or every day. But of course, by the time night came around, she was already drunk. So it wasn't going to happen. But the few times, I believe it was twice, that I tried to speak to her about the way that she treats Rick, as well as the way that it scares me, I had a few other points that I was trying to bring up, sorry, not beat up, but she wasn't hearing it. And by the tone of her voice, I could tell. Now, that's something about getting to know somebody. Once you start to know people in your circle, you know how they're going to react. Oftentimes based off of experience of how they react with others in front of you under similar circumstances. I knew that if I pushed it further that she was going to fucking snap on me. I was in a desperate situation and I needed her help. I was waiting on Graham to send stuff through the mail that took him 6 weeks to send, by the way. He was given the money to send it. He said he would send it out on Friday. He just never got around to it. Now, when I said something about it, that's where the issue between me, him, and Tabby started, because by this point, Tabby is dating him. Now, Graham is supposed to be Joshua Eichelberger's best friend. That's Tabby's ex-boyfriend. Well, that's not a conflict of interest. It just shows his lack of loyalty towards his best friend. It also shows Tabby's lack of loyalty towards her man. But now her current man she's being loyal to, even if it means doing wrong shit. Even if it means screwing over a friend of over 20 years or over 15 years. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to mislead you. I think I met Tabby when I was 23. I'm 39 now. How many years is that? 23 to 33 is 10 years. 33 to 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39. So we're looking at 16 years there that me and Tabby were friends. I'll be 40 in October of this year. On the 15th of October of 2018, I attempted to fire my public pretender, Pamela Carty, and the judge wouldn't allow it. On the 17th of October, she coached me in what to lie about in court, what to say so that I could be released. She already knew that I wasn't going to be released because she hadn't done her job. She already knew this, but she claimed that she had taken care of it. And that if I absolved her of not doing her job, that I would be released from jail, that those warrants had been taken care of. But the fact is, I had already tried to fire her in court, as well as firing her in person on at least 2 separate occasions, and at least once over the telephone. She wasn't doing her job. She didn't requisition the evidence that needed to be shown. She was making zero attempt to talk to these witnesses and get the subpoenas required to get them in court. She didn't even show up. She pretended to have a car accident so that she didn't have to show up for my pre-trial, which was already several days past when they're legally allowed to do it. After that time has passed, they have to drop the charges. It's illegal for them not to. So they had a replacement public pretender who came in that day, said that he could not and would not defend me, that there was no evidence that he was able to get. Well, obviously, he had just gotten the case like an hour earlier, if that, and repeatedly lied to me in order to get me to sign a piece of paper waiving my right to a pretrial. While I was under severe mental and physical duress from the treatment by the guards in that jail. Now, when I was served in the jail with that protection order that I showed you all so graciously, because I'm such a nice guy, I was served with that while in jail with no attorney, prevented from going to that court date. You have to have, now I found out that you have to have the paperwork in 6 days ahead of time in Colorado if you're not going to be able to show up to court. Or, sorry, 7 days ahead of time. They didn't deliver the papers to me until 6 days before court. So there was no way in hell that I was going to be able to get that out in time. No way in hell. It was already too late to do that. And furthermore, 2 of the officers that I had such a big issue with, who I had tried to turn in for the way that they had treated me, Officer McRae and Officer Thorne, sorry, Deputy McRae and Deputy Thorne, were the ones that I had to turn in that paperwork to. These are the same officers who were harassing me through the door with that officer who called himself Franklin with a PH. Whether or not that was his actual name or not, I don't know. The guards are highly antagonistic. And because the cameras are there, but there's no volume, they can do whatever they want. Like they can call you to the door and then they can come in and harm you because you crossed the line at their request. You're not supposed to cross the line. But if they call you past the line, you do have to go, or they can come and hurt you for that. And many, many, many inmates were there to see that. They told me that they couldn't have an investigator come talk to me about the way that I was being treated in that jail. They said that there were no recording devices in that jail. And then when I sat with or not deputies, but Sergeants Davis and I want to say Riviera, they had a recording device right there at the table. They recorded part of our conversation. Now I handed them one of these pieces of paper, an Arapahoe County Sheriff's Office, one of these. I handed it directly to the sergeants. They put it in the file in front of me, and I told them I wanted a copy of it. They refused to give me a copy of it and told me I could get one when I got a lawyer. Fuck you, piggy. Piggies. Now, the result of this, Pamela Carty, knowing that I wasn't going to be released from the jail, that prevented me from being able to, first of all, go across the street there and register with probation. Second of all, it prevented me from being able to file charges against her in her office for the crimes that they had committed. Now, I'm going to admit that Pamela Carty not showing up repeatedly, because there were 3 appointments that we were supposed to have that she didn't show up to either. Not court dates, but just appointments between me and her. And on those 3 dates, her not showing up really did fuck me over severely. And I'm sorry that I just lost my train of thought. I'm not trying to be a dick. But by her lying to me and misleading the situation and misrepresenting the situation, claiming that I would be released if I said these things in court on the 18th of October, that prevented me from being able to file charges against her because those warrants that she claimed were gone were not gone. And I had to sit it out in Larimer County Jail until Miss Peaches, thank goodness for Miss Peaches, she put herself and her children and Braja at risk by spending her own money to bail me out of jail. And thank goodness that despite the fact that my disability money had been taken away, I was able to get $700. My last payment from disability had come in. I was able to get that money and pay Miss Peaches back for bailing me out of jail. Well, she put money on my account and I used that money to bail myself out of jail. When I was unable to get my vehicle out of the impound because Graham didn't keep his word, well, that's what made me realize that I had to leave state for my own safety. There was no way in hell that I could comply with their demands. No way in hell. They had done everything that they could, from Amanda Jonas to Officer Brian Valenzuela to Pamela Carty to Judge Kathleen M. Jansky, the guards in the jail. That kind of treatment, fuck those people. Now, because I can't function, all I can do is talk most of the time. That's all I can do. At least I'm recording it, because then it is documented. If I'm wrong about something and I realize that I was wrong, New information comes to light. Yes, I get on here and I admit that I was wrong. Just like Dylan Bauer apologized to me for how he treated me in high school. Just like Ran Ingersoll admitted that she was wrong. There's plenty of other people that did wrong that aren't going to admit to it, but I have enough evidence to show beyond a reasonable doubt that there was, in fact, conspiracies going on to prevent me from having an honest day in court. Public pretenders across the state of Colorado not doing their jobs. Pretending to. That's why we call them public pretenders. They get paid whether they win or lose. And because they're in that position of power, when you threaten to sue them still being on the case is a conflict of interest. This also goes to show that the judges committed crimes. This is for the state of Colorado. This is for the state of Nebraska. I am currently in Nebraska. They pulled some of the same bullshit here that they pulled in Colorado. Now, where are the two places that I tried to speak to the police about this situation before Natalie was dead? That's right, here in Colorado. Where is it that when Ted Bollinger and Alicia Bollinger were pulling that bullshit at my grandmother's funeral, where is it that that officer did not do his job, putting me at further risk? I am still a disabled individual. They did everything in their power to separate me from my ability to take care of myself. And a lot of people threw me away over the frustration of the abuse that I was taking, including people going out of their way at every turn to destroy my Facebook. Rochelle Shelley Campbell and the Haxton Police Department pulling the shit that they pulled while I was at Candace's. Ugh. Now, there's a lot of situations that people are mad about, and they can, because I don't have those phones to show the full argument and everything that was going on, these people can take me to court and win because only their evidence will be allowed in the courtroom. But I did try to bring it up to police. I did try repeatedly to bring it up to the police. I reported things here on my YouTube and on my Facebook in the hopes that someone else would report it because they wouldn't take it from me. But then again, they didn't take it from Erin Cockerham. You can listen to the conversations on here with her. They wouldn't take it from Dan Faber. They wouldn't take it from Miss Peaches. They wouldn't take it from Caramia, aka Cara Rogers. There's a few people who claimed that they tried. Now you can listen to the conversations between Amanda Jonas and I, and then listen to the conversation between Alyssa Rainwater and I, and realize that one of those two is lying. If Amanda Jonas was the one who was lying, then she was playing head games and misrepresenting the situation. If Alyssa Rainwater was lying, then she was playing head games and misrepresenting the situation. In either event, it needed to be sorted out. Instead of somebody who is mentally disabled and overwhelmed having to sort it out while going through hell.